Hello, you wonderful people. So today's video, I'm just going to talk about the fact is I just found out yesterday that obviously I knew Legion was coming back for a third season. If you don't know what Legion is, it's a great show. I highly recommend you check out. It's essentially an X-Men TV show, and I'll just leave it at that because it's like this psychological thriller. It's not like it's an interesting take on like a superhero TV show, and I'll just kind of leave it at. It's a great show. If you've not checked it out, you really should. But I was looking at, I believe it was a Collider article where they had talked about, basically news had come out that this was going to be the third and final season. I was like, huh, that's kind of interesting. It leaves me kind of not really as much mixed because I've made it clear in the past, like I will always prefer a show going into its final season, knowing it ahead of time rather than be like, oh yeah, the show got canceled, so that previous season you just saw was its last season, that type of thing. So, but what I was also reading from the article, it seems like they only planned for 3 seasons anyway. So it's part of me going like, okay, and that's even better because you had your vision in mind and you got the chance to like potentially, you know, tell all the story that you want to tell. You know, it's not like you're rushed to do it. There's still a part of my brain that's still kind of like, oh, I wish it would go on longer. But when you look at the context of the story, it's kind of like, it makes sense. And to me, that's the incredible thing about it. And going forward, I will be talking about spoilers. So if you're not caught up with Legion, then like, do not listen to this video, or continue listening to the video because it's going to spoil things. Like really quickly, if you are curious, from what I can tell, there is no date out from when season 3 is going to come out. I'm personally assuming it's going to be spring. Season 1 came out of February 2017. Season 2 came out around April. I'd assume they might keep that. But, you know, kind of getting to, like I said, spoilers. It's so interesting when you look at, like, the nature of the show, not just only being the psychological thriller that it is. And to me, I always praise it for being such a unique show. Not just a unique superhero show, but show in general. I don't think there's any other show that really is as mind-bendy and just kind of like, wait, what? Like this show is. And wait, what in a good way, because it makes you think and you're just like, oh, like it's just a very interesting approach to, once again, what is essentially a superhero show. But what I love the most too is like the trajectory that David's story is taking. Because if you look at season 1, like he has his issues and stuff like that, but he's figuring stuff out. You know, season 1 is kind of an origin story and stuff like that. But you see his rise to become a hero and stuff like that. Season 2, you're just kind of like, okay, like he's a little shaky here and there, and just a lot of the stuff that he's doing, potential secrets he's keeping, and then like the end of it hits, because it seems like, oh, he's on the hero's path and everything, but then it hits you like, boom, no, he's the villain the entire time, and it's like, wait, what? I feel like I've never seen a story do that. Like, I mean, obviously the only thing, I'm sure there's other stories, but the one that comes to my mind that I can kind of think of in a similar regard is Luke Cage. Season 2 kind of ends off in the sense of Luke kind of becoming a villain. That's kind of spoilers, but at this point in time, it's like, the difference is many different differences. One is like that story, we may never kind of get to see the resolution of that, but at least in Luke's case, it's more of a situation of he became a villain to fill this power vacuum. So he kind of stepped up to kind of a crime boss. So that was more like an ends justify the means type of thing. Whereas David's case is just kind of like, no, it's almost kind of like a battle against fate and destiny, because the future says that you are the one who basically wipes out humanity and stuff like that. And it's kind of all on you. And so it's kind of fighting what the future says that you're meant to be. And then it kind of puts everything in perspective to be like, wow, the monster, it wears a human face. They weren't talking about Farouk. They were actually talking about David. And you know, the whole thing of like, David might not be like the kind-hearted like hero that everyone thinks he is, that maybe there's, you know, maybe all that time Farouk was in his head, maybe, but just in general, he's not a good guy, you know. And, you know, and I talked about this before in a previous video. The fact is, I feel like you kind of filled out that destiny by turning against David. In particular, you know, Sid amongst anyone, because her betrayal cuts him the deepest. So now, you know, he's off kicking it with Lenny, and I'm so curious to see how they end up wrapping this all up because of the way his story is. It's like, will he end up the villain? I mean, like the route seems like he's going down that way, or will he end up the hero? Part of me is now sitting here thinking about, now with this knowledge of it being the final season and everything, I'm like, I get the feeling like David's going to die, because I didn't even think about this. I don't think I talked about it at all in the video, but it's like, maybe I did, I don't remember. But the fact is, when you look at all the other timelines, because in season 2 there's an episode where you saw like all the different alternate timelines David was in, and like the fact is, a lot of those timelines he ended up dying. So maybe that's kind of foreshadowing that no matter what, you have to die in the end, just for the safety of everyone, because otherwise than that, you're kind of like this uncontrollable monster. It's just so interesting to really think about. I'm excited to see what they ultimately do with it. But now I'm kind of got that in my head. I'm like, I get the feeling like they're gonna have to kill David in the end, or, you know, I don't know, because he's too powerful for you to potentially contain. I mean, they literally tried it at the end of season 2 and he ended up busting out. So he's one of the most powerful mutants, if not the most powerful mutant. Is like, and he's kind of, you can make the argument he is naturally unhinged throughout the entire thing. Like, obviously because like, and I talked about it before, it's like, he said it from the beginning, is like, you guys think I'm a mutant, but what if I am just crazy? And it's like, there seems to have been merit to that, you know. And even Sid, like I said, had said, like, maybe you never really knew how to love, and it's not 100% your fault. It's just because, you know, Farouk running around your head and everything kind of drove you crazy and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just kind of expect the show to kind of have, like, it's probably going to be a mind trippy ending, but at the very least, it's probably going to be sad. I don't think it's going to be like the hoorah I would want it to be, but I don't know. Like, I really don't know how I would want this show to end. Would I want it to be a happy ending or a sad ending? And like, I feel like it fits to have a sad ending, but I guess either way they go about it, it's going to be kind of, maybe kind of like a leave you with more questions and answers type of ending. Maybe that's just me throwing it out there, just with the nature of the show just being as trippy as it is. So I mean, we'll just ultimately have to wait and see when season 3 comes around if I really kind of get a vibe of what direction they're going to take the show until, you know, we come to the end of everything. So, and also do note that this is coming from someone who doesn't know the comic books that well. The only thing I know about the show is a little bit I picked up from other people, and that's about it. Just the whole thing about, like, David being Professor X's son, that's the only thing I went into the show knowing, and even at this point I've avoided anything else. I did see a detail that I really won't go too much into about, like, oh, a certain character is going to pop up in season 3. That's what I saw and read somewhere. It might have been on that same Collider article, but it might have been on something else. I don't remember, but nevertheless, some of you might have come to this video being like, oh, you're going to drop some knowledge. I should have brought this up at the beginning, but the fact of the matter is that's not my style. Like, I'm not someone to kind of deep dive into all this information that's out there. It's like, no, because I myself as a viewer want to kind of go into something knowing as little as possible. So there are, I was reading something that was like, oh, details of season 3 have come out. I was like, I'm not going to look. So, you know, if you want to, like, all more power to you, but don't, you know, I don't think you should ever expect me to have, like, all the details, because I never want to know all the details about things. I want to be able to just kind of enjoy it in the moment rather than being like, you know, I already kind of read about that ahead of time, you know, stuff like that. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about in this video. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good